even remotely interested in any of the different services we have to offer would call us, but on no one but that, then I'm going to be untouchable in terms of being able to, people not being able to compete with our effectiveness in our campaigns and in our ROI and our results, because we're so committed to just that. Tell people frameworks. I have a framework called RAC, which stands for Reach, Attract, Convert, and Keep.
Okay, so today we're here with Matt Stanley, a marketing expert with over 30 years of experience helping businesses owners grow. Matt is a founder of Get Reviews and Leads and a host on the Growth Freedom podcast as well. In this episode, we'll talk about how small businesses can improve their marketing, get more leads, build trust, and grow online. Also, we can talk about other tools and the tool that Matt was able to create, but we'll try to push that in the end. So once again, Matt, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited for today's talk.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, now let's keep this thing going. So my first question would be why small business marketing fails?
Oh boy, that's a really good question. And I think there's more than one answer. I think there's a lot of reasons why it fails, but I think there's some core issues, I guess, or problems that I've identified. As you mentioned, I've been in the marketing space and full-time marketing agency owner. I've been in marketing for 30 years, but full-time agency ownership for almost 20 years. And I've worked with dozens and dozens of companies, and I keep seeing the same thing happen over and over and over and over again. And that is this. So many companies that struggle, and small businesses in particular, I'd say, because they don't have the resources that maybe, more of a mid-sized to enterprise grade business has financially and resources wise with people and things, is they don't understand how marketing works, right? Marketing is not complicated. It's very simple, but it's also very challenging, which may sound like an oxymoron, but it's not. It's at the end of the day, it's really simple. Okay, the idea of it. How do we do it though? That's got a lot more to it. So simply defined in my kind of way I think about it, marketing is the art and science of persuading browsers to become buyers and then transforming them into stark raving mad lunatic level fans. Right? Like think of anyone that is an Apple enthusiast, right? They will camp overnight on the concrete for 3 days in the 20-degree weather or 20 below weather to be the first person in their zip code that owns the latest iPhone, even though they have one that isn't even 2 years old yet, right? So Apple has mastered marketing because they've developed a brand that people are fanatical about, and they have to have the latest this and they have to have the latest that, and they wear the swag right on their body. They got to get the t-shirts, but because they understand, listen, anyone can sell a phone, but not anyone can sell that phone. And Steve Jobs was a genius at this, because one of the most incredible marketing slogans I think in the history of the universe was the iPod. He was the first to really bring to the mainstream this idea of portable music. And the catchphrase, the slogan for the iPod was 1,000 songs in the palm of your hand. Okay, as a marketer, mind blown. That is genius. It takes 3 seconds to say, and it conveys an idea that at the time was like science fiction level awesome, right? So marketing is persuading browsers to become buyers, but not just that. We can't stop there. We have to retain them, right? We have to retain those customers. It's, depending on which research body you look at, between 7 and 12 times more expensive to get a new customer than it is to keep the ones you have. And so we have to understand that we need to know our who, right? Our dream who. And so I think a big part of this, to get to your question about why small businesses struggle and even fail to make it, is they don't understand who they serve. They just think, hey, if you've got a pulse, in a bank account, you're my customer. And they don't understand that that's not the case, because if you don't market to a very particular and incredibly specific someone, you're marketing to no one. So we have to understand who's our dream customer, who's our dream who, that we know we're called to serve and to do excellent work for and deliver excellent products and services for. And then based on that, okay, we know our dream who. Well, but how do they think? What motivates them? What fears keep them awake at night? What things do they have as problems that they're looking for a solution about? And so I think it comes down to a few things here. Number one, know your dream who. Number two, understand how to communicate to them in their language, on their terms, where they are, right? So if we are thinking, well, we just need to, pay for fake Facebook ads, but our dream customers doesn't use Facebook, or most of them don't use Facebook. I mean, it's like lighting money on fire or throwing $100 bills into a hurricane and thinking that's going to work out, right? That's silly. So we need to know our dream who. We need to understand the language they use instead of the nerdy geek speak that we use about our business, right? Benefits and features, and like, they don't care about that. They have a problem. They want a solution. They're looking for that solution in the marketplace. And so communicating using their language about their problems and showing how we truly are unique and different and offer something no one else does. And then giving proof. That's kind of the third part of this. We have to prove and back up what we say. If we say, we're the best this or that, okay, well, but based on what? Well, how about this? How about a 4.8 aggregate online reputation across 5 different website platforms where these other people that have already bought have said they solved this problem, it had this transformative change, I'm so happy and I can't stop buying from them, right? So leveraging the proof in the market, that's your proven track record, and making that part of a cohesive sales message on your website, on your socials, right? In your podcast, if you have one, and these different places that are touch points where the market's out there and people are engaging on their terms and their choice and preference of online real estate. Be present where they are and be the choice, not a choice, be the choice based on, what they're reading. If your copy's working well, when people read your sales message on your Facebook, on your socials, on your website, wherever you have an online footprint, the copy, when it's being read by your dream customer, should make them feel like you went in the middle of the night and set up webcams all over their house because you're literally reading their thoughts and they're freaking out about it. And if you write copy right, that's the effect it will have, where they see themselves on the screen and they go, wow, I have got to pick up the phone and call these guys, or I've got to reach out and DM them, or I have to fill out a quote request form on the website, or whatever the sales process looks like for engaging with you. So, I mean, I unpacked a lot of stuff there. I think that's most of it. And I think the other thing too is people don't understand the value of, I'm going to say, persistence and tenacity. So many people stop just short of the finish line. I'm not a sports guy, but I do love using metaphors in sports to teach because it helps people understand the concept. If you've ever watched American football, right, not soccer, which the rest of the world football is soccer, but in America here, football is the pigskin, right, and all that. You can get all the yardage and all the first downs you want, but if that piece of equipment called the football doesn't go into the end zone, you're not going to score any points. And so what a lot of people do is they say, hey, we spent the money on the campaign for Facebook ads or pay-per-click ads or organic traditional SEO, or we went ahead and started a YouTube channel, or producing all this video content, whatever. That's great. But if you don't have a system in place, and by system I mean software and standard operating procedures, processes, right, to make sure that when those leads enter your world and get in your list, you follow up, and you nurture them. It doesn't matter how much money you spend on advertising, you're not going to close the sale. Just because someone saw a Facebook advertisement doesn't mean your job is done. If they didn't opt in to your list and get followed up with, very specifically, again, using their language and their problems and solutions, and keep going until they opt themselves out or they buy, you're not doing it right. You have to follow up. You have to systematize this stuff, and you have to make sure you're nurturing that relationship, because it's kind of like courtship. Okay. In marriage, if you want to be married, I'm married. I've been married for 20 years to my beautiful wife, Jade, who's amazing. We didn't just get married on the first date, bro. Like, that didn't happen. Yeah. We met, we went to dinner. It was a great experience. We talked on the phone for 5 hours the first time, which was crazy. And then we went to a restaurant, and then we went out and we did country swing dancing, which we used to love to do, and all these things. But we have to cultivate the relationship, right? And so in human relationships, whether it's marriage, it's customer, it's parent, child, whatever, you got to cultivate the relationship. And honestly, being a business owner is a lot like courtship, because you have someone that's expressed interest, right? I think I'm interested in what you have to offer. Okay, well, great. Let's court you. Let's serve you. Let's bless you. Let's give you things that help make your life better. And when you're ready to make the commitment, right, put a ring on it, and you want to buy and then continue buying, great. But until they do that, you haven't closed the deal. And so we've got to follow up, and we've got to be intentional about that with systems and processes that are designed to guarantee that sale is inevitable. It's just a question of how long until it happens. So, I mean, I had covered a lot of ground there, but I feel like that kind of hits most important things that a lot of businesses don't understand or kind of miss, or just having pieces of all of it instead of a cohesive system, which is why it's important to work with marketing companies and agencies and even freelancers, if you're going to go that route, that understand the business aspect instead of just the technical of the campaign or the SEO or this or that. If you're doing campaigns apart from the context of business in general, you're not going to get the ROI for that client like you should.
Yeah. So you mentioned SOPs and you mentioned a lot of other like systems in place. When we're talking about businesses and we're talking about sales exclusively, what do you think for because we also focus SEO for SaaS, and especially if we're talking about SaaS companies, what do you think how we can generate clicks into demos, or how we can generate clicks into sales? So
yeah, great question. Great question. I think, again, you have to be a storyteller. You have to be really good at telling stories, right? And so telling stories requires knowing the destination ahead of time and then planning what that destination is going to look like from start to finish. So if you are trying to accomplish the goal of getting more leads for that client, which getreviewsandleads.com is my business. And let's say that client is a SaaS company. Well, okay, we can't think about our client. And this may sound weird, but follow me on this for a second, because you'll get it by the time I'm done. Let's say that I am getreviewsandleads.com. That's my business. So let's say that I want to work with SaaS companies. That's my target audience, right? I can't really think about what does my SaaS client want or need. That's the wrong way to go about this. I can't really do it that way. What I have to do is say, okay, well, let's work with that client and define their dream customer, like explicitly, with a 12-page document that gets into crazy level of detail about their dream who. Okay, let's define that first. That's step one in the consultative process that we typically like to go through with a fractional CMO type relationship with our clients, right? Okay, cool. So we have that master document. It's kind of like the Bible or the blueprint for everything we're going to do together in that relationship. Okay, cool. So that's my person. That dream client of my dream client, that's actually who I'm going to think about. And so what we want to do is we want to take that document and say, well, what are their pain points? What are their problems? What solutions have they tried that haven't worked out? What have they tried? And how is that, for what specific reason did that not get the return on investment that it should have? And so we're going to basically be like Batman, the detective. I love comics. And we're going to use our Bat computer, and we're going to go full on, down the rabbit hole, deep diving into the research aspect of what does that person need and what in the market are other SaaS companies doing to try to solve that problem. It's just not really as effective as it could be, or it's just not getting the results it should. And so what we want to do is we want to evaluate the competition, detailed, and you probably use AI to help us with this. Evaluate the competition. Compare that almost like a cross-section comparative analysis against the dream customer profile and what they're looking for, and find gaps. We want to identify the gaps in the market. And those gaps are the market opportunity for your superpower of unique value proposition to outcompete them and get that business. And so we want to look at that holistically, but we want to look at it kind of psychologically and say, all right, what are the things that we can exploit where there's opportunity that's being underutilized or ignored, and focus on the differences, right? Instead of just saying, well, everyone says this and everyone does that, but it's kind of their flavor. Fine, well, cool. That's the sales message everybody's using. That's the offer everybody's got. Let's just make it our own. No, I don't think that's going to be a good idea. I think you need to not do that. I think you need to use a market disruption pattern of communication, which is to say things that are rather scandalous and really attention getting, because it goes against the grain, or it swims upstream, so to speak, of what everybody else is doing. It's going to stand out, right? So we have to get attention. We have to hold attention. And then we have to say, okay, well, I just opened a loop, so to speak, in your mind. Now let's close the loop and let's bring it back to what the competitors are doing and show how, this is a very different solution, but that's why this works. And so bringing that in, and then of course, making sure that when you're doing this, you are using software tools, right? It's a SaaS company. They should understand things like CRM, pipeline, marketing automation, stuff like that. You've got to have the system calibrated and tuned to that sales message and to those dream customers, so that we're cohesive in all our communication, right? So if your web page has one kind of message on it, but then your email marketing system doesn't align with that, you're going to have a disconnect, and And I think that's another thing too that people do as a mistake is they don't have alignment between departments, right? So we've got our sales team over here, we've got customer service over here, we've got, maybe the part that's more technical and as a bridge between the two, and everybody's kind of got their own sheet of music that they're playing off of. That doesn't work. We have to all have the same music, and we have to have the same message and the same, I guess, corporate culture and what we're about. And then, of course, it's going to look a little different in application between departments, but it should be cohesive. And I think a lot of companies just don't operate that way because they're so used to kind of keeping everybody in their own lane that you almost have a bunch of different kingdoms instead of one kingdom that just has different functions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing all this. But since you also help, like your name says, get leads, so that's also interesting. But how actually would be the best beneficial way on getting leads in local, let's say when using local GMB or Google Business Profile, or getting leads locally?
Yeah, very good question. Going for local SEO is very different than more of a national campaign or subject matter that's not necessarily constrained to one zip code. So local SEO is unique and has some special challenges and some things you've got to do. For one thing, and I'll tell on myself a little bit here. I used to be extremely hyper focused on local SEO, and to the point that we were getting a lot of calls just every day from people looking to work with us. And it was kind of a double-edged sword because we were too good at it. You know what I mean? And so anyone that was even remotely interested in any of the different services we have to offer would call us. But the challenge here, the problem I should say, or the challenge was a lot of these people didn't have the budget that they needed to have for us to be able to have an effective, good working relationship that would make sense beyond just one transaction, right? So, hey, I need a logo, Matt. I need a website, Matt. I need you to design, the graphics to wrap our fleet of vehicles in, Matt, and whatever. Okay, great. We do that, but we would do that, and then that would be the end of it, and they would be done. And well, that would just have this one thing we needed, and so we found our guy because we needed this one thing, but then that was it. And I'm sure you understand this, my friend. When you're in business and when you especially work in marketing, one-off transactions for this or that are not going to be able to sustain a working business. We need to do a lot more than just a logo here and there or a website here and there. We need to really be building relationships with clients who come to us for all of their marketing needs. And if they need anything related to marketing or growing and advertising a business, we're their guy. And so I was so focused on the services that I actually attracted no-fit prospects that would churn and burn, right? So they'd hire us, and then we'd never see them again. And it wasn't for lack of trying. It's just they had this mindset of, I just need this one thing. And we had this without realizing it, and it kind of an accidental deal. Same thing. We need to sell logos and websites. No, we need to sell solutions. We need to sell transformation and life change. And that's only going to happen if our messaging is less about logos and websites and social media graphics and all these things. It's more about getting reviews, getting leads, growing your business, reducing the cost per acquisition for each client, reducing your churn, helping keep the clients longer and maximizing lifetime value and all these kinds of outcomes, right? And so I had to shift and dramatically change how I do things. But to your question about how do we do this, we have to understand that the dream customer profile informs the strategy. And instead of being so fixated on our perspective, like I was about, I've got to sell this and I've got to sell that. No, what does your dream customer need and want? And think bigger than one transaction. So don't just think about selling a new roof, okay, if you're a roofing contractor, or one chiropractic adjustment if you're a chiropractor especially, you better not be doing that. You better be selling a monthly subscription that includes not only adjustments, but some supplements and things like that. So you can have that more lifelong relationship with someone instead of just, well, my back hurts, I come in once every 3 years, right? So we need to optimize our social media. We need to optimize our website, all those different touch points with how people find us for really the transformation and the solution. And then the specifics of that, we can fill in the gaps with things like our cornerstone content landing pages, our service pages, things like that. So obviously thinking about optimizing for keyword phrases, not just that people are searching for, but that our dream people are searching for, and specifically that will signal to our clients, your clients, the people that you and I serve and work with, the most attractive prospects that are high intent, meaning I'm about ready to buy already. I don't need 6 months of nurturing and education and warm up to get ready. But no, we're problem aware, we're solution aware, and it's a matter of who am I going to buy from today. Okay, those are the people we want to target. And when you're targeting those kind of people, the strategy for how you optimize for local SEO is radically different than, oh, best web designer in Boise. Okay, great. Well, I mean, that's great that I know there's good people, but that's not gonna attract the kind of people that are ready to give me a credit card right now and sign a contract. You know what I'm saying? So making sure that you're optimizing with the keyword phrases that you're going after for high intent, high relevance to a very specific problem that is ideally beyond the first transaction. This is the start of the relationship, buying a website, but that's the beginning of their story with you, right? Again, a lot of storytelling image here, but we want to serve their need right now, but we also want to serve their needs in a month and in 6 months and a year. Website example is great because this ties in what we're talking about. Excuse me. So we sell them a website. Great. Well, what good is a website without traffic?
Not much, nothing.
No benefit at all. Well, you look pretty online and you're great. No one's coming. Who cares? So selling a website without a search engine optimization and lead gen and like traffic flow, traffic producing, supplemental service is kind of pointless. And so we sell this, great. Okay, but then what's the next step? Well, the next step logically is let's get your Google business profile so well optimized that it literally shows in the map listing in the top 3 for your market, period. So we'll
I also
want to put a
heard
Google
that
business profile
while you're saying, I just remember that we had someone who said, listen, build me a great website so when I share it on social media, people are going to love it. And I said, wait a moment, that's supposed to help in a different angle than just share it on social media like an achievement, because it's not an achievement. As you said, right. And without SEO and how to get clients to that, it doesn't serve a purpose.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think to your point, so many people think about business from a I guess kind of an operational sales and marketing perspective from their own perspective. Yeah. Right. So good for you. Pat on the back. With all due respect, I don't mean to be rude, but I have a website and it's awesome and it cost me $20,000. Cool. Yeah, having a website that looks good has been an expectation in the marketplace for literally 30 years now. So that's nothing to be really terribly excited about. What's exciting would be, I have a website, it looks good, people like it. And by the way, between the traffic and then the website being really good, conversion optimized, yeah, we got 20 leads in the last 24 hours. And that represents 50,000 in revenue potential in our pipeline. Okay, now that's something to celebrate, right? That's something to get excited about. But it can't be about us. It can't be about us. It has to be about our dream customer's dream customer. We have to think that way. Because if we think that way, the pipeline will fill itself.
Yeah.
Right?
But what about those times if we're talking about agencies and to have these specialized teams as well? But do you think that agencies should be specialized for an industry or a niche, or should be generic because you need leads to survive?
Oh boy, that's a really good question. That's actually something we've wrestled with a lot. I've wrestled with it for a long time. I feel very strongly from personal experience that being a generalist agency is a recipe for professional suicide. Okay. And I'm living proof of that.
Said.
So Oasis, well, no, really, I don't know. It's kind of direct, but it's the truth, right? It serves no one to tell them what they want to hear and have them just go extinct. And so let's just be truth tellers, but be kind about it and give them solutions, right? So my company, Oasis Interactive, that's the legal liability corporation. That's the LLC that everything flows through. And we've had that company for 20 years. But I realized a few years into that, I mean, I'm not really specializing. I'm doing all the things, but I'm not specializing. And for that reason, we have way too high of a churn in our book of business. And so what I decided to do, and this is still in process, but I decided to say, well, instead of Oasis Interactive, which the name itself does, well, what is that? Even the name, I mean, to be blunt, the name sucks. I hate it. What does that even mean? Well, I needed to take 5 minutes to tell a story to explain what that means and why the name at the time I came up with it made sense to me and I thought was great. But again, I wasn't thinking the way I'm thinking now about dream customer's dream customer. And so it's not effective. And so we completely shifted, totally rebranded. I'm going to actually probably kill and turn off and just wipe out that entire website in the next 30 days and replace it with redirecting that to the new site, getreviewsandleads.com. Well, getreviewsandleads.com is not niche specific, but it's incredibly problem specific. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. I think it depends. So does it make more sense for companies that are in the marketing space to specialize in an industry? 100% yes. I absolutely believe that is the difference maker between tens of millions of dollars or $100,000. That being said, another way to go is to say, well, we're not going to just serve one very specific niche industry because the riches are in the niches. That's true. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to specialize in a very specific problem. So I think you should choose one of two paths, and everyone's different. I can't say that one path is right or wrong for someone else. I think it depends. And so if you want to get so specific and so specialized around a very specific industry, let's look at it this way, my friend. There's pros and cons for each. Okay, so going all in on one niche industry, there's a lot of pros. They're mostly pros and very little cons. You're going to get so hyper focused on that type of business and that type of industry that you're going to be a level of expert that no one else can touch, because that's all you do all day. Is I serve HVAC contractors that are doing 1 to 3 million, and they want to get to 5+ million in less than 5 years. Okay, let's say that's my chosen niche, which that happens to be my chosen niche, by the way.
Yeah,
great. I'm gonna own that space eventually. No one's gonna be able to touch me because I'm gonna be such an expert, because I have tunnel vision on no one but that I'm gonna be untouchable in terms of being able to, people not being able to compete with our effectiveness in our campaigns and in our ROI and our results, because we're so committed to just that. Now the con is we're going to get a lot of calls that are no fit, can't help you clients. So we have to say no to, which isn't great. Okay. But if we're getting all those other clients that are no fit, that comes back to us not being on point with our sales message too, right?
If I'm being honest, that feels bad in the same way that feels good as well. So
exactly.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, but at the same time, you're going to get to a place eventually where you kind of train the market. Don't call me if you own a dog poo scooping company. Like, I don't know why you would call me. I mean, that's kind of a gross example, but like, it's not what we do. So I don't know why you'd call me. And so eventually, when your content gets to a place of maturity, these issues go away, because you're just not getting calls from people that are no fit. They disqualify themselves by looking at what you put out there and go, oh, yeah, that's not appropriate. And then on the flip side, if you're not ready to, because it's a big commitment, it's a huge commitment, it's expensive, and it takes time, and it's a big decision. But if you're not prepared to do what's necessary, okay, in terms of content production and self-discipline to do that, instead of just having a generalist, a jack of all trades, master of none approach, which will absolutely destroy your business, say, okay, well, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve one, maybe two incredibly specific, large scale, a lot of businesses struggle this problem, and I'm going to be better than anyone else at it. So let's say online reputation, like review management, online reputation management. That's all you do. Have a solution that's so incredible that you can charge $500 a month for just that, or $1,000 a month for just that, and people are happy to pay it because the results speak for themselves. And you've got case studies that make the hair stand up on the back of your neck, right? So I think you need to do one or the other, and I think you need to decide. It kind of should come back to your dream customer, right? Your dream customer is going to tell you the right way to go with this. Does it make sense to solve a very specific problem and be, vertical niche or industry agnostic? Or no, I really think we need to specialize in just this. And the same holds true. We're having this conversation in the context of a marketing agency, and that's where I live, and so that makes sense. But some of your listeners, I would hope, also aren't necessarily marketing agency owners. Maybe they are the small business owner. Maybe they are the home services contractor. They need to understand this information tracks. It's translatable to them as well. And so even though what we're talking about might be framed from a context of marketing agency, no, it's that knowledge, that way to think about this is applicable in any industry, right? So for customers, let me use another example. Let's say that I'm a general contractor, and I've been doing finish carpentry work for 20 years, and I've been doing tile, and I've been doing I've been doing all these, I'm a general contractor, right? So I do all the things. Okay, well, that's great. You may be able to do all the things, but should you be doing all the things? Probably not. Okay. So if you're let's say that you're a handyman / general contractor. Well, that's really vague. That's wide open. Anyone could hire you to do anything in their house, right? You're going to struggle, man. You're going to struggle to even feed your family if that's your
half of the world. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, so everyone's your customer? No, absolutely not. Here's a better idea. Okay, guess what? We are a kitchen and bath remodeling design company. You hear what I did just there?
Yeah.
I painted a picture of artistry and craftsmanship with incredible specificity, only one or two of 2 rooms in your entire house. House has a lot more in it than just a kitchen and a bathroom, right? But the kitchen and the bathroom is where the money is. It's where the people that are loaded and have cash to spend and invest in their home that will be 5 figures, anywhere between $30,000 and $75,000 for just 1 room renovation, and that's what they expect to pay for it. Those people are a lot more pleasant to work with than the people calling you for a handyman job because, hey, my door is squeaking. Oh, what is it going to be, $100 transaction? That's not even worth your time to drive to their house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's a mindset shift. And so, well, who do I want to serve? Who am I best equipped to serve? And who can I deliver the most value to while having the most fun? Because owning a business is stinking hard work. And if you don't love going to work every day, you probably ought to take a look at who you're serving and what you're doing, because it should be a source of joy. It should be a source of blessing where you just, man, you love working and you're having fun. You're serving people. You're making money. Their lives are better. Your life is better. You're feeding your family. They're having what they need. And so they have less stress in their life and they feel, more joyful in general. And that's the best life to live.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. But, if we're talking in deep regarding to reviews, which was part of your brand name, so and checking also the algorithm updates every year or every month or twice a month these days, and all these LMS. So how much important are the reviews while we speak?
Oh, they're extremely important. They're critically important. They're more important than they have ever been. When the internet was new and people were still trying to understand what this thing is and how it affects business and how it's critical for business, they didn't really understand the value of it. And because it's a mature thing that has taken decades to get to where it is now, it's light years ahead of where it started. When reviews were first in existence, when they first became a thing you could do, it was kind of a novelty. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's really interesting. Well, what has happened over time is Google and Bing and all these other companies, all these online brands, and of course now with AI entering the mix, it's a whole other wild frontier that's making things a lot more challenging. It has become critical. If you don't have reviews that are good, that are honest, that are mixed, without 5.0 with 5,000. If you have a 5.0 review, online reputation with 500 reviews, I would question if there's some questionably ethical things going on there, because no one's perfect. Yeah. No one. I don't care how amazing you are. No one's perfect. Everyone has a bad day. Everyone makes an honest mistake that costs a customer something big. It happens.
And somebody is extremely nervous about it. You're gonna say that in your review. In your reviews, definitely.
Yeah, so you should have some 1 stars. You shouldn't, but you're going to probably have some 1 stars, okay? You're going to have some 5 stars. You're going to have some 3 stars. But the thing is, it used to be one aspect of Google. Let's just talk about Google because they're the OG of the internet. They always happen and probably will for a while, right? It used to be, our algorithm, will consider that, as part of the equation. Very small percentage. Now, it's one of the 3 most important things that those AI powered bots look at. Period. You either are worthy of a page 1 listing or not. And I would say probably 1/3 of its decision making is based on that. It's a big statement, but it's based on the research and my study of it and what I'm seeing. It's becoming more and more and more important. And so it's critical. You have to do it. And a lot of people make this mistake. They think, well, kind of like the Field of Dreams fantasy movie in the 80s with Kevin, whatever his name is, doesn't matter. Kevin Love Hart. The movie. It makes you feel good. It makes you happy, makes you cry a little bit. It's great. It's inspiring. And it's nonsense in the real world. If you build it, they won't come unless they have a reason to come, right? Kevin Costner, that was the last name.
Kevin Class.
You have to earn people's trust, not by what you say, but by what other people say. And if you do a good job and you serve people well and you have a process, a system, a program that is running 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to guarantee reviews are coming in. If you don't have that, it's not going to happen. You could give someone $1 million service and charge them $50, and they're not going to leave a review just because you're a nice guy and did a good job. You need to ask for it. You can't assume they're going to leave your review because most of the time they won't, right?
Yeah.
So if you do a bad job, almost 100% of the time without your effort or help, they'll go leave a bad review. But if you do a great job, that's the expectation. So why would I give a review for that? Yeah. You did your job. Good for you. I'm not going to give you a golden star for that, right? Like, no. So we have to ask. We have to be intentional. We have to be a little whimsical about it. We have to have a personality. We have to be fun, and we have to not badger them. But we need to ask. Most people, if you do a good job, are happy to leave a review, but they need to be asked because they're busy. People are busy. I'm busy. Everybody's busy. Ain't got no time for that. I mean, I could take 30 seconds and do it, but I need to be asked and reminded until I do it, which is why between 3 and 4 text and or SMS messages is the happy sweet spot of, if they're going to leave a review by message number 4 or 5, they will. If they haven't, they won't stop, right? So yeah, it's critically important. It's a signal not only to Google and Bing and all these other traditional search engines, it is a critical component to AI, LLMs, right? Large language or learning language models, to say the market speaks, bro. The market speaks with people leaving reviews. And these people are actual people that really bought, which means they are the experts. They're the experts that should inform our results. And so we have to make sure that we have the reviews there. And that's going to be like the fuel in the gas tank to give ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and Gemini and Grok and these LLMs what they need to know, because they don't actually know anything. They're more like a synthesizer that aggregates or homogenizes information, forms an opinion based on pattern recognition. It goes, yeah, Joe's garage door company in Lansing, Michigan is awesome. You should hire them. Well, based on what? Well, largely based on reviews, right? And based on what other people are saying, and based on the quality of the content on their website that directly correlates to the search patterns these same kind of people that are leaving reviews are looking for to find answers to those questions, which is why it's critical your website be optimized and your online content and profiles be optimized, not just for traditional SEO, but for AI. You have to optimize for AI.
Should we put reviews on the homepage and money page as well?
Oh, yeah. Every day, all day long. Yeah. You've got to embed your reviews on your website. Sure.
That's why. So if we want to hear the best golden review, what would be the best structure? If somebody agrees that would give us 5-star review, what would be the structure? What should we mention a keyword? Should we add a video or image or something like that? So what would be the best review possible so it also can be scratched by LMS?
Oh, great question. I would say there's a simple recipe that you should encourage your clients, your customers to use, right? And people, they don't mind being guided and helped with that. What they don't want to do is to have to come up with something and then they just struggle, right? So you want to give them what they need to help you out and say, help me help other people like you by leaving a review that told a story. So what I like to do is I like to tell people frameworks. I have a framework called RAC, which stands for Reach, Attract, Convert, and Keep. That everything we do as an agency, literally every single thing we do is based on that foundation of reach, attract, convert, and keep your dream customers on autopilot using tools and systems to grow your business so that you can accomplish, the goals that you set for yourself and your family. But we want to give them a framework of telling a story based on what their experience was. So number one, what was your problem? Prior to hiring me, what was your problem? What was your pain? Number two, how did we solve that problem? Number three, what was the outcome or transformation? And number four, based on that experience, why would you tell other people they should hire us? It's not complicated. 1, 2, 3, 4. So problem, solution, transformation, recommendation. Simple. Yeah. And it doesn't need to take 5 paragraphs. You could do that effectively in no more than 2 or 3 sentences. but you just have to make it real for them. And if they're telling a story, it shouldn't be that hard because they're just kind of telling from their experience. Most people enjoy telling stories, but everyone that I've ever met loves hearing a story, right? So we want to help guide them in how to do a review that's not only beneficial educationally, but it almost has a two-in-one combo benefit of, yes, we're giving people that might buy from us or considering buying from us or one of our competitors a compelling reason to choose us instead. So that's the human audience. But now we have the machine, the robot audience, the AI audience, because they make decisions and recommendations based on the content they have to work with. And you're just training and feeding it the information it needs to make a good decision. But you're trying to be ethical about it because you want it to know the truth.
Yeah.
And that's where the clients speak the truth because it's their lived experience.
But if we want to be more direct to the people out there, exclusively for SEO agencies, how should an SEO agency get qualified leads for their self in order to survive? First place.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Well, they should absolutely be publishing content constantly. They should be putting out content, not content that talks about me. I do this, I do that. That's the wrong content. We should never put out content like that. That's a waste of energy and time and people's, use of their eyeballs. No one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares about that. What they care about is, hey, because you're asking the question for the perspective of the SEO agency. Let's say that you work with home services like we do. Okay, if I'm putting out social media content every day about we have this promotion and we have that promotion and we have this and that, don't care. I'm going to fall asleep. If, however, I am that, let's say, electrical contractor that just absolutely is not having the phone ring and that's a problem, how are you going to solve that for me? So what we want to do is we want to lead with value. We want to write content that's kind of giving away the secret sauce, a little bit and say, well, if you had hired me to run a campaign, here's one of the things that I would do for you. And so you go ahead and just give away free information about what you do behind closed doors, right? The secret sauce, as I said, of the special thing that works, that gets results. And so publish, top 10 keyword phrases in Yuma, Arizona for electrical contractors to attract best fit prospects and homeowners. That's gold. Publish it, put it out there, right? And then the next day, put out something about, the kind of the framework or kind of script outline for how to do a really effective Facebook Reel video to attract the best homeowners that aren't tiger kickers and time wasters, but like ready to buy right now and want to hire you. And so delivering content, delivering strategy, delivering free information specifically targeted for your dream customers so that they see, I'm seeing a lot of content, but none of it is like got his hand out asking for money. Now, obviously, you want to mix it up. You can't just only ever give away free information. And that's all you post for content. For every 4 or 5 free information item of value or content you give that just is free advice or free counsel or free content or free help that they could just copy and paste in their own campaigns and use it, yeah, go ahead and make an offer that requires payment. But you've got to sprinkle in and mix it with a heavy emphasis more on free value and being the expert by giving stuff away just for the sheer value of serving people. And the law of reciprocity is going to kick in. Now. What's that?
Like this podcast right now, where we're giving too much valuable information for free.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, 100%, right? I drink my own Kool-Aid, right? I practice what I preach. I do it, right? So, yeah, I love it. Bob Berg wrote a book years ago called The Go Giver. Amazing book, really, really awesome, backed up by a lot of really incredible research. But the bottom line of this is this concept that when you give something to someone for free that's legit value, that's like, wow, I should have paid for that. There's an innate part of our human nature that kicks in that feels obligated to repay that debt. Now, I didn't ask for it. I didn't have a handout. There was not a condition to this. But we're hardwired by God when someone does something nice for us to want to do something nice for them. We can't help it. It's part of how he made us, right? So by doing business this way and having a pure ethical heart that wants to love people and serve people and help their lives be better, we're going to be blessed in return in our business because we are not selfish. We are selfless. And that's why I think pushing out really great content is a wonderful strategy because, among other things, not only is it going to serve the market, you're going to actually attract better fit clients that are not cheapskates and tightwads. They're going to want to work with you and they'll be happy to pay your premium price point, which I hope you're paying I hope people watching your show, I hope they're not charging bargain basement dollar blue light special at Kmart pricing. I hope they're not doing that. I hope they're charging 7 to 10% above the kind of the premium tier in their market, because you attract better fit clients when they are comfortable with premium pricing anyways. But yeah, it just makes sense that be generous. Don't be selfish. Don't be poverty minded and scarcity minded. God knows that we need to eat and feed our families, and he really wants us to be blessed. He wants us to be successful, and he doesn't want us to have more than we need, so we have money left over after we've taken care of our family to bless other people with. So that's really my core motivation and my content strategy with how I go about what I do. And I love writing books and workbooks and guides and stuff like that, and making software like the GPTs and things just to help people have resources, and it works pretty well. So that's why I recommend other people do.
But let's try to switch a little bit the questions. So if we are a business, a small business, medium business, doesn't matter, and we want to hire an agency, an SEO agency, but the problem is they don't know much about SEO agencies, because if they do, they would do it themselves. So what do you think the question that they should ask before they hire an SEO agency?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I would say a really important question would be, and this is tricky, you got to be really careful with this, because we want to be really careful to not make promises that we can't deliver, or write checks that we can't cash, so to speak. And it's really easy to get into that to try to earn their business. And frankly, I think that's where a lot of agencies really make a terrible mistake and to demonstrate a lack of integrity, is to make grandiose promises that no one in their right mind would ever say out loud, because you can't deliver on it. But what I would say is ask the question of, what's your process? Number one, what is your process? Every single SEO agency on the planet that's any good at what they do should have a predefined, written down, every client is always going to have this process, whether they're paying me $1 million a month or $500 a month or $10 a day. It doesn't matter. The amount they pay should have nothing to do with the process. The process is unchanging. Okay? Unchanging. It's always the same. So step one, we do this. Step two, we do that. Step three, we do that. Step four, we do that. And not only what's your process, but what's your process iteratively look like over time? That's really critical. So there should be, and I've been doing SEO for 30 years, really, 31 years now, that it turned into a new year in 2026, half a year ago, I guess. I can't believe 2026 is half over. That's insane. This year's flying by. But so great. You have a framework, you have a strategy, and you have a process. Cool. Well, the process for the first 30 days is going to look very different than the process for days 31 through 60 and days 61 through 90 and then 91 plus. It has to. Because when you're getting started, you're front loading a lot of work, a lot of deep research, a lot of competitive analysis, okay? A lot of research and development really around your client and their offer and their products and how they're even communicating their sales message to the market. If you're taking a long-term view, as I do, I don't want a client for 30 days, bro. I don't want a client for 90 days. I want a client for 10, 20, 26 years. Our first ever client we ever had, before it was even my company, because it was it was this idea I had with my father's not brand, but his S Corp. I had an idea, and he's like, well, fine, we can use my corporate umbrella and you can do this thing. And it looked very different back then. But long before we separated that relationship and I totally went my own way, we had a client. They're still with me 26 years later. That's unheard of in this industry. That's crazy. But the thing is, I've always worked with this particular client, which is a husband and wife married couple, and every other client in a way that says, listen, you're going to hire me for one thing, okay? And I get that, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally okay with solving the immediacy of your problem. I get that. But I'm not interested in just that. I want a relationship that will last forever of serving you and meeting your needs and helping you grow and thrive and realize your own dreams professionally and vocationally, right? So what is this going to look like beyond the completion of the initial project? We got to think that way. So days 1 through 30 is super tedious and not a lot of fun, frankly. My team rocks it and is awesome and does a great job, and I'm glad I have the team that I don't have to do the work myself anymore. But the first 30 days, there's a lot of things happening, but it doesn't look like much is happening because you can't immediately show a before and after report of all the changes that happened in your visibility in Google, because it takes time for this stuff to kick in. So really, day one is building the house, right? It's making sure they've got the Google search profile or the Google search console built correctly. It's making sure they have a Google business profile that's optimized and really, there's not one field left empty that's appropriate for their business that doesn't have good content in it, right? It's going to be doing the keyword research. It's going to be doing the competitive analysis and SWOT analysis on their business, and putting together the plan for the first 90 days, and then after that, the rest of the year. Okay, well then month 2, okay, well we've got the plumbing in the house, right? Using the home services metaphor again. The plumbing's in the house. We have the electrical. Everything's good. Like we're wired up. We're ready to actually start to really build this thing out. Cool. Well, so great. Now we need to take a look at a phased approach of low-hanging fruit. And so low-hanging fruit is going to be, well, what are the keywords we can realistically rank for pretty quickly that have the highest intent buyer? In other words, high intent means I'm ready to buy, instead of, I'm just even researching and don't know if I'm really going to pull the trigger on this or not. A homeowner's like thinking about the remodel, but I don't really plan to start for at least 6 months, right? Like, no, it's not that we don't want those leads. It's that we want to know that those leads are going to require a very different approach to how we market to them than those that are ready to buy. Totally different language, totally different campaigns, totally different everything. So making sure that the small business, to your point, is asking questions like, so what's your process? How does the process look and change during the first 90 days and then beyond 90 days for the balance of the year? Okay. And then what do you use to track your own performance? In other words, how are you going to be holding yourself accountable to me as a non-technical person to prove this was a great investment, right? So a lot of agencies love to sell campaigns and love to sell retainers and love to sell managed service agreements and all this kind of stuff. What they don't love to do is necessarily disclose the key performance indicators that isn't fluff and stuff nonsense that makes them feel good but doesn't mean anything to that business. So a lot of agencies are like, oh yeah, we got you 55% more traffic. That number sounds really impressive until you start asking more questions. Okay, great, super. So how many leads did that 50% more traffic, 55% more traffic get you? Oh, I don't know. Oh, okay, excuse me? What do you mean you don't know? Well, we don't really track that. Why not? Dude, I don't mess around. I'm a direct person, right? I call people out that are not doing stuff with integrity. Okay, so how am I going to know? Let's say that I'm that electrical contractor looking to hire an SEO agency. How am I going to know if I give you $2,500 a month, that in month 2 or 3, I will have at least made my $2,500 back, and preferably made more than the $2,500, right? So I give you $2,500 a month for 3 months. I better have gotten 10,000 back at least, and preferably a whole lot more than that. Or this wasn't a good exchange of value, right? It wasn't a good investment. So we need them to tell us the plan. We need to tell us the process. We need to tell them the process and plan over time. Number 4, we need to know what are the key performance indicators? What are those metrics? What are those signals that I'm going to be able to look at to measure, I gave you $1, I got 4 back. Yeah, that was a good investment. Let's keep doing that. Maybe let's give you $2 next month instead of $1 this month. You get the idea? Yeah. So, and then what's the reporting going to look like? How am I going to be able to measure this? And yes, I may know, you may tell me the key performance indicators, which is super geeky, but how will I be able to myself objectively, without requiring a PhD level education in super technical stuff I don't understand, be able to look at and measure, yes, you actually did accomplish moving the needle, or back to the earlier reference, moving that ball into the end zone for my business, so that we're better off now than before I hired you. If you can't demonstrate that to me, you don't deserve any of my money, right?
Yeah, that makes total sense. But okay, one question before we move to your tool is, I always ask my guests when to fire clients. When to fire your own
clients. That's a great question. Yeah. Oh boy, I would say when the time to fire the client is when you get a sick feeling in the pit of your stomach when the caller ID shows their name, and you don't want to take that call because it's not going to be a pleasant experience for either of you. And I've had clients like that. I've had multiple clients like that where it's like, oh God, oh boy, okay, count to 10, practice some Lamaze deep breathing exercises, like when my wife was married, my wife was getting ready to have our first kid. So that you start the call in a composed state, because it's going to escalate. I don't know if it'll take 5 minutes or 30 seconds, but this isn't going to be a fun call, right? So when you get to realizing that there's just nothing but drama, and it's not productive, and it's actually really destructive to your peace and joy, You got to let them go, man. I don't care how much money they're giving you. Life's too short. It ain't worth it. It's just not worth it. And here's another marker. So that's one thing. And that's a very visceral answer to your question, right? It's like, ugh. But y'all have to use your brain. You can't just be emotional. You can't just live in the realm of emotions all the time. We have to use our logic and our reasoning. Another thing I would say is when it's taking 80% of your mental or physical energy, to serve them, and they're bringing in, like they're in the bottom 10% of your book of business in terms of revenue. So they're high demand, high maintenance, just really needy. Got to just get a lot of your personal time for them to feel like you deserve to keep their money, and they're just a suck. They're just sucking you dry like a vampire, and they're just not delivering the amount of compensation that's reciprocally appropriate for how much of a drain they are. Cut them loose, man. Drop them. I heard someone really smart and a lot more wealthy than myself say, and then another person that's similar category, similar caliber of human that I get coaching from, say, every year in like mid-October, we literally fire the bottom 10%. 10%. It was either 10 or 20. It was some number that to me sounded just astronomically huge of all of our clients, because it frees us up to have margin to get more clients that'll be the top 10%. The top 10%. And it keeps us healthy, man. It keeps us healthy. It keeps us healthy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, in every which way. As a business, we're working with the dream clients that we can't wait to get up in the morning and work with, because it's a joy, it's a pleasure, it's a treat. They respect us, we respect them. There's equal exchange of value. We're treated as professionals, and we know we're making a difference in their life, right? So I would say those are the two main things. And here's a third one. It just popped in my head. I'd say a third one is when you feel like every account management, status report meeting, which you should be doing depending on the depth of your bench in terms of your team. How many teammates do you have to make sure that the people are getting the attention they need? Kind of like the parent, kind of like the teacher-student ratio in a classroom. You know what I'm saying? Monthly or quarterly. When you start noticing more often than not, these conversations turn into a combative sort of argument rather than, question and answer and continued renewal of trust. You're noticing probably there's some patterns here. I'm kind of describing the same person three different ways. But when you just feel like you have to constantly justify what you know in your gut is the right decision with why we're doing what we're doing with their investment and how we're seeing those returns and those gains, and that they're advancing in the market and gaining market share and doing better, because we know they are doing better, because we know how to look at those numbers, but they don't.
Yeah.
It's just a waste of oxygen and time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit here for 20 minutes arguing with a 3-year-old about why broccoli is something they should eat. It's not going to happen. I don't mean to be disrespectful to children. I have two kids that are both approaching adulthood, right? We're not going to have that discussion. You're going to eat your broccoli, period. If you want to put some cheese on it or some sauce, cool. However it gets in your stomach, I don't care. But you're going to have broccoli because you need the vitamins, because I don't want you to be malnourished. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's no different. We're valuable SEO agency owners and marketers and people that you and I are peers of and that are peers with us. Our time is too valuable to waste it on people that don't want to get it and just want to argue and think they know everything, right? The know-it-alls, which we've all known people like that. I ain't friends with those people, man. I don't even socialize with those people, because I'm like, I totally agree with I don't have it.
All 4 bullet points that you mentioned. I think that totally makes sense, the way you said it, the way you summarize it. So the only thing that sometimes I think about it to add in this kind of question is that when to fire a client, when always fire a client, when every meeting feels like interrogation. So when it feels like you need a lawyer, sometimes I even ask one time, do I need a lawyer? Am I in trouble?
That's a great line. I might have to use that. I might have to steal. I love that. Interrogation. Yeah, you feel like you're in the gulag, in like 1930s Russia, and you're one bad answer away from being
against your
terminated. Yeah, like holy moly, this is not fun. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's funny. I like that. That's a good one.
Okay, Matt. Yeah. Okay, moving to the last question would be, I'm intrigued to know more about the tool that you have created and you give it for free for everyone who is listening right now. Like your GPT was called, and how to use and why to use it at first place.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm excited to talk about this. So I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. I love building things. I love creating software and solutions and finding a problem in the marketplace and going, I know there's an answer and I'll figure it out. And so then I'll just architect and think through software, usually software-based solution. Then we'll build the software and release that to the market. So one of the things that I realized when we were transitioning and rebranding from Oasis Interactive to getreviewsandleads.com is, man, if I'd have had a tool like this back when I was thinking about the idea of totally rebranding, I would be much farther along right now, and I'd have more money in my bank account, and I have a much bigger book of business because I would have had what I needed to start off right. And so everything I've learned about marketing and sales and direct response and all this stuff has just been from studying it and practicing it and running tests and seeing what happens when we make some changes and go like, wow, that works a lot better. And so I practice what I preach, and I went, okay, what can I build if people aren't ready to hire me yet that would deliver so much value that they go, I can't believe he doesn't sell this for $97 a month. This is amazing. And so what I built was a GPT called the Marketing Content Architect. Okay, Marketing Content Architect. And what this thing is, it's a GPT, and so it's software powered by ChatGPT, OpenAI, that will interview the user and ask them questions. And the purpose of asking the questions is to build a blueprint, so to speak, for their sales message. So I don't know if your listeners are familiar, but they should be, I would hope, with Donald Miller's StoryBrand. Amazing framework. I love StoryBrand. It's just awesome. So StoryBrand is this idea that we're going to tell a story, and we're going to have the hero of the story, which is our audience, our customer. They're going to have a problem. It's going to have a problem that has internal and external consequences and emotional, not good things that we're feeling that we want a solution for. And so we need help because we don't have what we need to solve the problem, but we know we need to solve the problem. So we're looking for a mentor. Think of Yoda, right, to Luke Skywalker, or Obi-Wan to Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. And this expert has what we need, but the expert's going to help us solve our own problem and guide us on a journey to solve that problem. And so we're going to help develop them and teach them how to solve the problem by basically writing copy that causes people to actually want to buy from them, right? So StoryBrand's amazing. So that's kind of the think of it like the framework that things built around, but it's going to ask questions and ask questions directly mapping to that StoryBrand framework from Donald Miller to develop what's called a story brand. So a brand script. So StoryBrand is the framework. A brand script is essentially the copy for the product, the service, the homepage, the offer, whatever it is you're trying to sell. And so they're going to answer questions, and it's going to keep going until it has what it needs, and it's going to generate some really valuable output for them. It's going to give them some key ingredients for their own brand script so that they have more effective copy. So they're going to get that dream customer avatar or profile that things are built around. They're going to get the brand script for their copy, and they're going to really get essentially the ingredients that their marketing team or their agency or whoever it is that handles this for them can use to look at before they write any additional copy, so that it's all congruent with who they are, what they're trying to communicate to the marketplace is why they're better than their competitors and why they should buy from them. When people are hiring us to do custom work like this for them, typically we're going to charge $1,500 to $3,000 for the kit of what this thing puts out for free. But this just gives it to them for free because I'm like, listen, let's just give people stuff that will help them. And if they see the value and they want more where that came from, they'll hire us. And if they don't, that's okay. We delivered value and they've got them on our list. And at some point, maybe something else we have to offer makes more sense at that time. So Marketing Content Architect is fantastic. It's totally free, no strings. I just ask that people opt in to our newsletter to get that, and it'll instantly deliver it to their inbox. But the way you get it is you go to getreviewsandleads.com/MCA. Again, Marketing Content Architect. So getreviewsandleads.com/MCA. And you asked me a couple things. What is it? Why is it important? Why should they care?
Yeah.
You're going to have to do this one way or another. Okay. Whether you hire someone at $500 an hour or $3,000, for the deliverable, you're going to have to do it if you want to be successful. Because if you don't use something that's this or something very much like it, you're not going to stand out in the marketplace. You're just going to be boring. No one's going to want to buy from you because you don't have a compelling reason that will make people feel feelings that take sales-related action that gets you money. right? We want to persuade browsers to become buyers, keep them for life, and then convert them to stark, raving mad, lunatic, cult level fans. Well, the only way we do that is if we know who we are. If we know who we want to be when we grow up, right? And we can communicate that we actually are that person. And here's compelling evidence why it's not just saying, so here's 50 reviews with a 4.8 star aggregate rating on Google, proving that we actually deliver what we say, because they're the proof, right? So this stuff all comes together, but you really do need that recipe and that blueprint and those essential key foundational documents in place before you write one word of copy for your homepage or your socials or whatever else. So I just love giving stuff away for free. It's blessed a lot of people, and it's actually blessed me because I used it for myself when I was building it and testing it and fine tuning it. And so I hope your listeners and watchers will enjoy that resource.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for that. Since it's free, I think a lot of people are gonna go jump there to get leads and reviews /M. What's that?
Yeah, so it's getreviewsandleads.com.
Okay.
Getreviewsandleads.com /MCA.
MCA. Okay. So my final question would be for tonight, where LMS are going and how we can stay ahead of them.
Oh boy. I don't think we can stay ahead of them. What I think we can do is try to
at least not left behind.
Keep up. Yeah, keep up, not fall behind. Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that question. I'm really passionate about this. So I have the paid versions of Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini, and I use them every single day. So AI, let me say this. AI is to business, and not just business, but the culture in the world at this point, as the invention was of the internet, okay, and as was the harnessing of electricity that could be put into someone's home. So when the light bulb was invented and commercially available in your home electricity was made available and affordably provided here in America, the world was never going to be the same. It changed everything, okay? And then fast forward, or like the Wright brothers inventing the airplane. It changed the world. It didn't just change one country, it changed the world. It had worldwide impact. Electricity, airplane, internet. Well, this is like the internet coming out all over again, right? The internet was created by the federal government here in America, only for the government. And then they released it to higher level academic institutions like universities, right? And then it was rolled out to high schools. And then eventually they decided,
forever,
okay, let's stop keeping it to ourselves. Let's just let the public have it. And then it took some time for businesses to get with the program, but it changed everything forever, right? And now we have smartphone technology that's using it. It's unbelievable. AI is never going back in its bottle. It's the genie that's never going back in the bottle. It's not going to happen. It's here, and it's taking over every freaking thing.
So now people are paying just like electricity bills. I'm sure that 90% or perhaps 80% of this stage, but sooner you're going to be 100% that everybody's going to pay like they're paying the electricity bill, like water bill or a rent bill or anything like that. They're paying for AI bills in the same table.
Absolutely, yes. Because if they're not, they're gonna fall so far behind they'll never catch up, and they will not survive. I'm not a doom and gloom, a defeatist. Everything's horrible and we're all going to die sort of person. I'm the opposite of that. I'm just also a realist, and I'm telling you that businesses that for whatever reason it could be they're kind of the old school. I've known 55-plus-year-old men my entire working career that like I could never sell them a website because they didn't see that the internet was helpful, and I'm like, man, I can't even talk to you because you just don't want to know the truth. You refuse to look at reality, right? So for whatever reason, if it's a fear of technology or overwhelm, feeling like they don't understand it, I get that, I do, but they have to embrace it. Okay, we have to embrace technology. We have to embrace AI. We have to be using it, because if we don't, we will not even be able to compete, or even be a little bit behind the companies are. We're not going to make it. We have to use it. Now, here's a caution. Use it correctly and use it responsibly and use it ethically and use it wisely. Okay, that was a lot of adjectives strung together. I tend to use 5 if one will do. That's just how my brain works. But there's a place for it and there's a place to misuse it. And so we've got to be careful that we don't rely on it too much so that our brains just get stupid, okay? There's a tendency and there's a temptation and there's already a trend that research is coming out showing this, that people that they instantly go to AI to do their thinking for them and they don't actually use their own mind and reason, rather than using it as a tool and then using their intellect and their wisdom from God to interpret the information and make a sound judgment based on looking at research. It's scary what will happen, because AI is not alive. It doesn't reason. It doesn't think. It's a simulation of data processing that sounds scarily human, but isn't. Right. And so we have to use it for research. We have to use it like a tool. We have to leverage it, no different than we would a human employee that has a very specific job description to save us time, save us money, work more efficiently, help us produce more content in less time that's really, really good based on how we've trained it to be aligned with our brand voice, right? And have it have a place. But we've got to use it.
Yeah,
I've seen unbelievable productivity gains, and I'm just scratching the surface of what I can do now. I'm actually in a process where I'm going through learning systems to become a programmer and use what's called vibe coding, but basically develop software and build programs and write code and things with AI and whole software tools and suites around it. But what used to take me 3 to 5 hours, because I don't mess around. I don't write blog posts that are just fluffy crap that don't do any good. I write blog posts that are so full of meat and substance that the search engines have to rank it, right? So I take my time and I don't. I'm very careful, methodical to produce long form 1400 to 2000 word blog posts every time, so that we have enough there that search engines go, wow, this is really good, and it ranks and we get good traffic from it back to high intent buyers, right? That used to take me 3 to 5 hours for one blog post, between the keyword research, the planning, the writing, the editing, the proofreading, the working in, the statistics, the call to action at the end, tying back in the CRM with the software. Now I push a button, I type a couple sentences of prompt, and it goes boop. And in 3 minutes, I have an outline, and then I push another button, I type another string, and then I have the whole thing written. And then I basically spend maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes cleaning it up to get that last 10, 15% that's make it sound exactly like me instead of almost exactly like me, because it already sounds like me. Yeah, amazing. I mean, AI has been incredible. It's a gift from God that someone had the idea to create the thing and start playing with it and then create it.
And put it live and put it public.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it and use it wisely. Let it save you time and money and make you more money because of those efficiencies.
Okay, one last question. So I don't want to stay in depth for those people that heard you mention you use ChatGPT, you use Claude, you use Gemini, and you use Copilot. So very short, for what you use each one specifically?
Oh, great question. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So I'll mention kind of the 4 that are my favorites, because what I've seen, I'll mention a 5th one too, side note, but the four go-tos and then the 5th one. So I spend a lot of time in ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is excellent for research, deep research, and also brainstorming, collaboration. Right. So let's say you have an idea for, okay, so we'll go back to speaking to both the small business owner and the agency or the SEO agency, because these people both can take what I'm about to teach them and apply it. So let's say we want more leads, right? That's my getreviewsandleads.com. That's what I do all day. Yeah. We want more leads. Okay, great. Well, how are we going to get more leads? Well, one of the best ways you can get more leads is to give away stuff that's free. That's awesome. Right. I mean, you should build lead magnets that are so good. People are going to feel guilty you didn't make them pay $300 for it. Okay. That's how I feel about this. I'm passionate about it. So, well, if I don't have any good lead magnets, I need help with that. So a great use for ChatGPT would be, okay, I need a really good lead magnet that's going to get better prospects and better leads and better fit people instead of not good leads, right? We've all had not good leads. We don't want any more of them. They suck, right? So how do we do that? Well, you go into ChatGPT and say, here's my business. Here's what I do. Here's kind of the thing I specialize in. I really want to attract better fit, higher intent, better quality lead prospects. What lead magnet ideas would be the best ones to attract those very specific kind of people? Give me some ideas. Give me your top 10 based on what I've told you. Oh man, dude, you watch what happens when you spend about 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes going down that rabbit hole. It will blow your mind what ChatGPT can come up with. It's incredible. So ideas, proof of concept. Let's say you have an idea for a product launch or an offer or a promotion or a sale in your business. And this works for, manufacturing, retail, e-com, whatever. Basically like like stress test my offer, stress test it, right? Would this work or not? Would this make sense? And so you give it information, you ask it for objective feedback, and you want to tell it too, because AI is notorious about telling you you're brilliant and awesome and wonderful and everything you say is good. I hate that about AI. I wish it would stop it, but say, I want you to act.
I have added on the settings, I said everything needs to be bulletproof. If I say something rubbish, don't sugarcoat it ever. You have the right to say I'm wrong all the time. and now
exactly.
It tells me I'm wrong. And I love it when it tells me I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So I said lead magnet's one idea, but here's another one. It's like offer. Like I'm thinking about maybe starting this new product or service line. Here's what we do now. Here's what the revenue looks like. Here's the revenue split between service line A, B, C. This one obviously is more lucrative than these others. And how would this idea fit in what we're doing? And do we think it would make sense to add it in as well? Critical reasoning, right? Give me feedback, give me input, and stress test my idea. So if you want to have someone as a sounding board or an idea or research, ChatGPT is amazing at that. Really, really good. And then also it can, obviously crawling the internet, which most of them can do now. It took forever for the other ones to catch up. But finding the citations and sources to back up what it's telling you, so you can look and say, well, yeah, but where'd you get that from, right? And go back to the source if it's Forbes.com or entrepreneur.com or whatever it is, and then look at their research, go, okay, well, yeah, this tracks, right? So that's ChatGPT. I wouldn't use ChatGPT for copy. I don't. I hate the copy it puts out. It's just crap. Claude's so much better at that. And then let's go to Claude next. Now, Claude is a unique animal because it used to really have its sweet spot, and it's just maturing so fast and getting so good at so many other things that it's starting to actually give everybody else a run for their money, because the company Anthropic behind it is obviously well funded. They're pioneers. They're blazing the trail. They've kind of accelerated past everybody else in the market, in my opinion, with what they're doing. It's amazing.
Yeah. So you're saying they passed ChatGPT.
What's that?
You're saying they passed ChatGPT in this way of
in
AI.
Some ways, yeah. In some of the innovative things they're doing, I would say so. Right now, that's my opinion. Some of this stuff is subjective, but I would say, based on using it literally every day, it seems like every day I open my inbox and I see some newsletter article from one of my things I've subscribed to that's talking about Claude, and Claude this and Claude that. Now Claude has this, and did you know Claude can do that? I'm like, oh my word, amazing. So, but Claude's my go-to for every word of copy that ever gets written out of my business. Every word. Claude, amazing at copywriting. Also great at code, right? So writing really solid, whether it's JavaScript or it's full-blown program, really good at code. And it's also good at proofreading, right? So I will use it to draft the initial version of maybe a blog post, or say an email that goes out to a client for a project we're working on, or whatever it is. Have it give it to me, and like, okay, that's good, but tweak this, tweak that. 2-3 rounds, and it's ready to go. And it sounds like I wrote it. Sounds exactly like how I talk, but it's better than I talk because it doesn't have run-on sentences and way too many, repeating myself and saying the same thing 3 different ways and all this stuff that, isn't as good. So really good with that. Again, good with code. That's the main things I use it for. Obviously, you can do other things, but I feel like that's its superpower. And of course, what you can do with skills and Claude Code and Claude Desk and Claude Cowork and now Claude Design. Don't even get me started on Claude Design. Oh my word, that thing is like mind-blowingly
But
awesome.
what about Codex of ChatGPT? They're also trying to do something very similar. Do you think it's
yeah? They're like this. They're just like this. They just keep pushing. They just keep pushing, and it's good.
And the good thing is
because
the
competition is
second
healthy.
version, which earlier was the first, now it's cheaper.
Yeah.
That's
no, it's true. It's like you'll see 2 gas stations literally on the same intersection, and they both do really well and last for years of time. Competition is a good thing. It keeps the market healthy, it keeps the market honest, and it keeps the prices competitive, right? So, ChatGPT is ChatGPT had their generative imagery stuff, like the first couple versions were just awful. They were hideous. They were terrible. People with 6 fingers and like, what the crap is going on?
Yeah.
And then they just released in the last 30 days, I think it was, a new version. It's like, oh my word, I've got to revisit this. This is getting really good.
The people have 5 fingers now. That's great.
5 instead of 6. No, that's hilarious. No, it's amazing. I don't know. I feel like we're living in Disneyland. If that's your favorite, they say it's the happiest place on earth. I don't know about that, but some people love Disneyland. It's the Wild West right now, man. I'm having so much fun with this technology because I'm the biggest nerd in the world. It's cool, but yeah. So those are both really powerful. Use them both. Play with them both. When a new model comes out because they create a new version, don't go crazy because like it'll cost you money if you use too many tokens. But like try it out. See what happens. And so anyway, those are those two. What else? Perplexity is phenomenal, amazing, really, really good. I would say Perplexity is even better than ChatGPT at deep research that's really more accurate. ChatGPT, for me, still has way too many hallucinations going on.
Yeah.
But Perplexity, that's much less frequent, having used it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of time. And spending a lot, more money than I care to have spent on it. But deep research, citations, research reports. I actually built a program that is was it a project or a space? Perplexity has spaces, which is like their version of projects in Claude. That's a comparative analysis product research assistant. And I say, I want to find the best sushi restaurant in Boise, whatever. I'm just making stuff up. It'll list them all out based on zip code and like, closeness to me, proximity wise, geographically, pros and cons, overall sentiment with online reviews, menu options, best dish to order based on my budget of whatever I say, $25, whatnot. Amazing. That's what I mostly use it for. I've also found it's really, really good at, product and offer development. So we are launching something just incredible I'm very excited about called the HVAC Contractors Growth System Pilot Program. And it's going to be equal parts software, services, and reporting to basically within 90 days have a dramatic turnaround of people's lead flow for getting reviews and specifically getting leads for those contractors. And we're going to offer it at a steep discount to get a bunch of wonderful case studies to show people this works really well. And then of course we'll drop the entry level pricing and it's going to be a much higher investment. But I was like, okay, I've got this idea and I already did this with ChatGPT, but I felt like it just led me on a wild goose chase and I wasn't thrilled with the results. I kind of hated that and it was like, eh. So I did it again like a few months later, but this time I used the computer version of Perplexity, and what it produced was like so much better, richer, deeper, multifaceted, had even brought things and asked me things that I hadn't thought to consider, and then went back through dozens and dozens and dozens of lines of MD files and code and things that it was building to retrofit and fix things once we made decisions based on, well, have you thought about this and that? Well, no. Well, this affects that, and so I have to go back, rev everything and adapt that for the new numbers with revenue projections and stuff like that. Incredible. Now, I dropped, I don't know, from start to finish, maybe 12 hours into it. But what came out was exponentially better than what the first version was with ChatGPT. It was incredible. So love Perplexity for that. And then the last thing that I will mention before I mention the bonus one is Gemini. Gemini is kind of a unique animal because it's like it does a little bit of everything pretty well. I don't feel like it does any one thing exceptionally well. Okay, like Perplexity does the research and Claude does the copy.
Trying to do some videos and some images way better, but still, I think should wait a couple more versions to come up so we know for sure.
Yeah, I think their strength more is in the generative stuff. Some of the video stuff they're doing is state of the art right now. Is really good. Some of the generative image stuff as well as video is pretty decent. But I don't know. I just feel like I don't know if they're underfunded or if they're not able to compete with these other guys in some of the same ways. I just feel like it's more of a second string, double check the work of the others. That's something that I've used a lot. Is I'll run something through GPT, right? I mostly use GPTs at this point because I build my own stuff and I like them better. But whether it's the chat or my own stuff, or I'll use Perplexity for that, or maybe even Claude. And then I'll take those outputs, because I always save as Word documents. I'll upload the outputs from those other tools into Gemini, and they'll basically say, okay, here was the ask, right? Here was the job I gave it. Here was the request. Analyze it. Give me your feedback. Try to poke holes in it if you can. Don't poke holes, just poke holes. But basically, objectively, reasoningly, give me your input on what this output was and whether I can trust it. And if you would give critical feedback, explain why. It's really good, in my experience, at that sort of use case, and it does a really good job. Because there's been a lot of things that it's found that I didn't even catch the first time. I went, oh, shoot, yeah, it's right. And I had to go back and kind of revisit some of my, R&D efforts or my product offer build with aspects of what I was going to include or not include, or maybe the price point, stuff like that. And the last one's Grok.
Yeah.
Grok is really interesting because it's, I haven't used it nearly as much as the others, but when I have used it, I've been blown away about how surprisingly good it is.
That is the newest. That's why nobody has used as much as the others, I guess.
Yeah, it's the new kid on the block, right?
Yeah. But I also see on Ahrefs that a lot of users are getting into Grok, because I see a lot of impression and clicks into Ahrefs from Grok that coming from LMS. So that's also interesting, something that because at first I didn't put a lot of pressure and a lot of interest on Grok, but then I see that, okay, a lot of people are coming from Grok. Even some potential leads came from Grok, and they said, okay, they find you because you were the best prop firm SEO agency, and that's the way. And I said, wait, on Grok? And I tried to do reverse engineering, and I said, yes, we're showing up on Grok. We didn't even know that. So yeah, I think Grok is trying to do something interesting. I think the chances of using Google and end up in Grok are higher than using Gemini and Google and ended up in Gemini, which is interesting.
Yeah, they're definitely gaining ground, and they are carving out market share from the other ones. It's kind of a slow, steady, almost, like you've heard the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? I feel like they're kind of like the tortoise. They're just slow, steady.
Yeah.
And they're getting results. They're getting some real traction, and their product is good. It is good. I've used it, and I've enjoyed using it. Really good with like research, and it's good at a lot of things. But I've used it for research. I've even used it for some of the brainstorming collaboration. I've got an idea, kind of helped me work out what that might look like, and it was really impressive, even at writing code. Now, the code wasn't perfect and they had some bugs in it, but it was like 85% of the way good on the first pass, which I was amazed, because I didn't know Grok could do stuff like that. I thought it was just another search chat deal. Like, no, it's more sophisticated than that. So
yeah, I think Elon Musk is out to that. So definitely is going to try to go to the top of it. So that's how he works. Okay, Matt, I really want to thank you for this exclusive interview and a perfect podcast, I would call, for all the users out there that are trying to listen. So thank you for putting 30 years of experience in less than 2 hours podcast. So I really enjoyed. I know that a lot of people will enjoy, because they tend to learn a lot of new things to use for the SEO agency, or if they want to hire one, and especially which tools to use, and you mentioned your own tools. So once again, thank you very much for this kind and gentle podcast.
It's my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. You got to talk about a lot of nerdy, geeky things, and that's my happy place. I live there, so it was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.